Hey there, this video is about a scaphoid non-union fracture and my experience with it. Making this video because I just couldn't find a whole lot of personal testimonies on YouTube. Um, I am 32 years old. I'm in the military. I hunt, I fish, I work on my own vehicles, I ride motorcycles, and found out I needed a four-corner fusion or a proximal row carpectomy. And when I found that out, I went into YouTube and articles and research and Google and Yahoo and Reddit, just trying to find out, some answers what this looks like, what this kind of life looks like with a four-corner fusion. And so that's what this video is for. It's very unprofessional. This is the first video I've ever made, but hopefully it just kind of answers some questions that people might have, kind of like I did when I was looking for some answers. So for me, I actually just had this done 4 or 5 days ago on literally on Valentine's Day. I had a date with a doctor. And so this is, let's see here, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days post surgery. And so let me just kind of tell you my story of injury, living with a broken scaphoid non-union for 14, 15 years, and then the surgery till now. And then later I'll make a video of what it's like living life after this is off and I've done physical therapy. So back in high school, broke it. Didn't know it. I thought it was a sprained wrist. Never went to go see a doctor. Just put a little splint on it and then lived with it. Continued to work in construction. Moved around a little bit, did different things, still did construction, motorcycle riding, hunting, fishing, and everything. That entire time, throughout my 20s, whenever I used my wrist, I had like a pain scale of like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, a little stiff, but I could still work out, do push-ups, everything. So then I enlisted in the military in 2018. I was able to do everything, work out, push-ups, everything that you would imagine. And then last year, I was in a training phase. We were digging some holes, fighting positions, if any of y'all are in the military or in the Army, or Marines. Don't worry, I won't forget y'all. And then, so anyways, we were doing some digging, fighting positions, digging through roots and whatnot. And then when we got back, I was like, holy crap, my wrist hurts almost constantly. And it was so stiff, I couldn't do push-ups. I could not bend my wrist back more than something like that. So I was kind of thinking maybe I developed de Quernovan syndrome. If I said that correctly, there's a syndrome out there kind of on the sheath of the wrist that it just kind of hurts and it's stiff. So I thought maybe I just developed that. And I just wanted to go get a corticosteroid shot so I could just keep on, working out. And I had a PT test coming up. Go to the doc. Doc says we need an x-ray. Does the x-ray, comes back. He says, dude, your scaphoid's broke and it's been broken for years and I can tell. I was like, oh, shoot, cool. Obviously remembered the football injury. And so that doc referred me to an ortho specialist, talked with the ortho specialist, did the MRI, and he gave me two options, which I'm sure you guys have probably already heard of, read about, or your doctor already told you. Four-corner wrist fusion, proximal row carpectomy. Talked to the first doc. He told me four-corner fusion. He was pretty blunt and short. I kind of appreciate that of him, of what it, he just told me straight what he needed. But I did get a second opinion by another doc, because a lot of people tell you get second opinions, and it's just kind of smart, I guess. So I did go to another doctor. He was a little more informative about the two options, and this is what the ortho specialist told me. I'm sure you've already seen this, but I'll recap it. The proximal row carpectomy, you'll probably get a little more range of motion. The unfortunate downside of that one is you're only going to get roughly about 60-65% of your grip strength back. If you haven't seen it yet, proximal rural carpectomy, they're going to take that scaphoid out. That's about right where your scaphoid out is. And I think it was the capitate intercranium, I think it was. This entire row out of your wrist. And then the wrist bones above it will just sit right into this little fossa right here. Your radius, your ulna have a little bowl shape right here. And then those bones above will just sit right in there. My doctor told me, well, I'll say this. I brought it up to him because I've read and I've seen about how there's cartilage degeneration and arthritis that develops with proximal rural carpectomies. And he says, yep, I understand that. I know that. And what this doctor told me was through all research and studies and his patients is the amount of arthritis or degeneration that develops with a proximal rural carpectomy is not felt by the patient. Basically saying that it's highly tolerated by the patient. So the upside to that was a greater range of motion. Downside, significant loss of grip strength. Second option, four-corner fusion, which is plucking the entire scaphoid out and then obviously fusing the other four bones in the wrist here while this scaphoid is completely removed to give that wrist stability. Because I opted for that one and with what he suggested, given my active lifestyle and my job, 100% grip strength can be regained after doing some physical therapy once this cast comes off. So I like that idea better too, because what the doctor said and what other people I've talked to is after the four-corner fusion, you just learn to adapt. You change the angles of your arm or elbow and shoulder, and then next thing you know, you're not even thinking about it. You're just living your life and just changing it, because since you're kind of limited to this much range of motion, give or take, you can't quite pick something up off the ground or maybe twist things that far back, because now you're only limited to that. So I did opt for that. I will say this. I was kind of poking and prodding the doctor to see if I couldn't just live the rest of my life with my wrist the way it was, because I was frustrated that I just lived 14, 15 years with this condition just fine. No significant debilitations or restrictions. Because I was like, well, what is the deal? Why all of a sudden, just randomly now, I can't bend my wrist. I can't do push-ups, and now it's just in constant pain. Like, can I just do a corticosteroid shot at least and make it to like 40 or 50, and then, and then maybe get a fusion? So what this doctor told me, well, actually both doctors, is once the arthritis sets up in that scaphoid area, it's just going to spread. Doctor said that your body is very good at fighting off arthritis for a good while. And actually, some doctors will suggest to you that you can live with that scaphoid non-union for a handful of years. And this doctor actually told me anywhere from 12 to 17 years after the initial break happened, is kind of what's suggested to then do surgery, so that you can just kind of live your life with a decent range of motion. That timeline is about the time that arthritis is then going to start spreading around into the rest of the wrist. And at that point, you are going to be in pain at all times. And the only way to get rid of it is either a four-corner fusion, proximal rural carpectomy, or if the arthritis has gotten so bad, have to fuse the whole wrist. So I was right there in that time window, given that the injury happened so long ago. So I ended up opting for the four-corner fusion, like I said, on Valentine's Day. I'll kind of tell you how the surgery went, and then I'll let you know. Go ahead and comment if you want, if you got any further questions. And then once I get this off and I start living life again, I'll make a part 2 video and just kind of let you know what it's like living with it. But let me tell you this, in case I didn't make it clear earlier. I talked to 2 people that I knew that had a fused wrist. But to be honest, I didn't know they had a fused wrist. I just started asking questions to friends saying, hey, does anybody know somebody that has a fused wrist? Come to find out, I had 2 people, one of them being my last landlord. And I went home to Thanksgiving. He's actually a very good friend. I spent Thanksgiving over there with them, and I had no idea. I didn't know because he just lived his life. And that's what he told me. He says, hey, to be honest, it's great because I don't have any pain. Sure, I just kind of like move my arm around and I just do my daily task all the time. I'm not restricted to do anything. I just kind of change the angle of my arm to pick, say, a piece of paper off the ground. Or if I'm getting up out of the pool, I got to put my, fist down instead of my hands down on the pool. So that was encouraging. He encouraged me to get it, and he said, don't worry. So I was like, okay. So I reached out to some people, even on Reddit, people who work out with four-corner fusion, and they said they can do everything that they need to do. They can't do push-ups like this unless they're doing it on their fists. They can do bench press. They can do military press. They can do cable rows. They can do everything that they need to do for their body to work out their body. So that was encouraging to me. So that's what I ended up getting. What happened, at least for the day of surgery, I showed up at 6 a.m. I was in the surgery room at 7:30. I did opt for the nerve block. More than likely, you'll get that option. They'll advance a needle towards your nerve that goes into your arm, inject a numbing agent near the nerve, which they monitor that with a ultrasound, just to make sure they're in the right spot. And then next thing you know, you're asleep. I didn't even remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up at 11:30. So that nerve block, I couldn't move my arm all day after the surgery. Second day, I was able to move it a little bit. Third day, I had full control of my arm. And then the numbing of the arm and into my fingers wore off by the 4th day. I have hardly no pain at all. Sometimes it's a 1 out of 10. I just manage it with Tylenol. The doctors will more than likely give you oxycodone. I have it. I haven't needed to take it. Haven't bothered with it. Shoot, let's see here. What else could I tell you while I'm at it? Hopefully you have insurance. I did see the papers. It was a $25,000 surgery. Hey, I'm sorry if you're without medical insurance. This was kind of a higher profile hospital. So maybe you could find a hospital that'll do it for, 15 or 20. But I tell you what, I mean, if you can buy a $15,000 truck, you sure as heck can take care of your wrist and your body so that way you can live a good, healthy life doing all the activities that you love. Don't have a lot of information out there for you concerning medical care. But I will tell you this, I will give you guys an update here after about 8 to 10 weeks. The doctor said this has to be on for 8 to 10 weeks. In 2 weeks, they're going to take this off and put on a full cast. This is just a half cast right now with compression, with compression bandages. And then, like I said, the doctor said 8 to 10 weeks. More than likely, they're just going to take an MRI, an X-ray, just to make sure the fusion is taking. And then they'll determine on when that needs to come off. Like I said, I'll make another video. I'll label it part 2. Hit me up with any questions down below.